So will our small bean help us defeat the enemy? Hey everyone, welcome to Prince the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with the next episode, which is episode 14, I think? No, 13, of Undead Unluck. And last we left off, we were taking on the enemy, these hunters, and we have a couple new people to focus on. And I'm trying to make sure I got their names. I believe the small bean, the kid, is Unmove, I think. He can stop people from moving, and objects as well, by keeping eye contact while keeping completely still. And it's not just like one thing, he can freeze multiple objects at the same time, and multiple people. It's anything within his eyesight, basically. And that's a really neat power, though it does cause some problems. Though tying up his hair obviously helped, because it keeps his hair out of his eyes, makes it so he can keep that contact. Now, he also has to stay still, so there's also that problem, especially because he's kind of a scaredy cat. He seems very timid and nervous, and having this power thrust upon him doesn't help. But he gains the courage by the end, especially after Fuko was hit by our other power user that we know of right now, who is Unrepair, I believe it is. His power is that any wound he inflicts on you cannot be healed, cannot be fixed, cannot be, well, repaired, as long as he lives. Which is really specifically interesting, because that means he has to die in order for Fuko to survive right now, because she is bleeding out. Yeah, because his wounds, because the wounds he inflicts does this, it's like Andy is someone who can survive through, using some trickery and stuff to make it so other people cutting him can allow him to heal and everything, because the effect is only on him specifically. But even with those loopholes, if he hits someone who's not Andy, they're kind of screwed. And that's what happens with Fuko. She gets hit by the scalpel, and now she's bleeding out. And that's not good. And Tatiana's helping. Tatiana's not just there for her pretty looks. She's helping out and, took out some of the others. Is probably still involved in fighting them at the moment. We kind of don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a fascinating set of powers we've got here, and this battle just keeps going on. So, with the Mafia getting involved and all of these various sources of issue, we gotta find a way to take out the leader, to take out Unrepair in order to save Fuko. This needs to happen. The interesting thing, like even more so than just the powers though, is that this group, these hunters, their entire thing seems to center around like taking out their anger at all of these situations and everything with their powers and all this other stuff on humanity. While our heroes, the Round Table and everyone, are taking the anger out on God himself. It's a really interesting difference in philosophy and idea and the way they're handling things, even if there are some other similarities to certain aspects of it. But I feel like we have to kill him. If his power does require that to, be taken away, he has to die. Now, as for the others in his group, we don't know. Like, we don't know if they're going to survive. We don't know if they're going to die. We don't even know how many of them, if any, have powers. Like, I think he's the only one. No, no, no. The girl is confirmed too. His lover or whatnot. We don't know what her power is, but we know she has one. Anything that, like, targets her or something is, like, automatically redirected. So, like, if someone threw, like, a weapon at her, the weapon would, like, automatically move off to the side. However, as shown, like, blood splatter isn't counted as, like, I guess a fatal, like, possible injury or something. So a blood splatter can still hit her if it comes off of the weapon that's redirected. But, like, bullets are affected by this, swords, pretty much anything. It will not hit her, which means she can act basically as a shield to save her partner, which is a pretty useful ability to have, all things considered. So yeah, I'm definitely curious to see where this goes, and hopefully, it just continues to be really enjoyable and fun. And hopefully, Andy doesn't, like, lose his cool completely, because he almost did. He almost let Victor out last time. But let's see what happens. Let's see where this goes, and just hope for the best. Cutting in here real quick to remind you of all the awesome content we have on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, with 2 on Wednesday. We have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. I do pre-record them during the week, but upload them on the weekend. And we have gaming content over on the Princess of Gaming channel. We have Baldur's Gate 3 every single day, Horizon Forbidden West every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, Beyond Two Souls on Wednesdays and Sundays, and Poppy Playtime every Saturday. And don't forget to click that link in the description to follow it to today's reaction. I do redirect everything on the channel just due to copyright. And on top of that, don't forget to click the subscribe button to subscribe to the channel, and the like button to help support. It means a lot, and I thank you so much for tuning in. That being said, let's get to today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, this series has impressed me now 3 separate times. Like, not just like, oh, this is a really good episode, but actively, like, impressed me. The first time was with Miss Gina, and showing the emotional range of that episode, as well as Andy's genuine care for her, and how he gave her, peace in death. It was super emotionally resonant. It showed Andy for the kind of person he is, beyond just, being kind of wacky and silly and violent and everything. And it was super powerfully written to where it's like you have this almost emotional connection in a very short amount of time with what happened there. The second time the series genuinely impressed me was the zombie episodes. That little arc with all the zombies and everything, like the actual zombies and everything, was impressive. It was really well done, and it again had a super emotional heart to it with the teacher. The teacher who just wanted to wear a wedding dress once in her life and everything. Who wanted to be there, and Andy agreed to marry her because he liked her resolve and her heart. And that we find out that she had become a zombie because she sacrificed herself to save her students. It was exceptionally handled. Really emotional, really powerful, and is like one of the only times that I've ever, like, cried on behalf of a zombie. where I've like genuinely really cared for a zombie. And then the third time is this episode. And this one blows the other two out of the water. Sorry. I've been trying to hold back my emotions since I started these afterthoughts. I was like really having to hold them back during the reaction too, because I was on the verge of like losing it. Um, One of my favorite tropes, and if you've watched my Symphogear reactions or even One Piece, you know one of my favorite tropes is trauma baby, where it's like you have this character who, especially when like they're like a kid or something, has gone through so much active trauma that it affects their very core and how they see the world and everything. But then like they end up being helped and saved usually by someone who comes into their life. And it's one of those tropes that just absolutely does it for me. It's I can't even fully explain why. Maybe it's partially because I almost have this kind of like mama bear like feeling towards children. It's like I very much like want to see children protected and kept safe and kept out of all kinds of harm, not just physical but emotional and mental too. And so maybe because of that protective like feeling I have towards that, it's that is part of it, but also just I'm a very emotional person. I mean, if you watch any of my reactions, honestly, you know that. I cry very easily. I get emotional very easily. And there's been many reactions on this channel where I've gotten either extremely angry, extremely sad, and various other emotions. And this is like definitely one of those cases where it like just everything lines up. Because prior to this, we didn't really know much of anything about Tatiana. And then this episode answers everything. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it's an exposition dump. It doesn't feel like it's rushed or mishandled in any way. It's like this was the perfect time to do this. It was perfectly paced within the episode without losing track of what else is going on around it. And it's directly important to this fight for, giving us the backstory and explanation for her powers that showcases, like, her utilizing that within the scope of this battle. It's expertly weaved into this story. And the flashbacks, the backstory, everything itself is so fucking emotional, is so fucking like sad. And it's like I've again, I like the trauma baby trope. I've seen plenty of anime, plenty of cartoons, plenty of movies and video games that have trauma baby characters. One of my favorite movies is Nimona. I love Nimona. And Nimona is absolutely a trauma baby. 100%. That's actually a massive point of the core of the story and character. But again, One Piece has a lot of that in it. Trauma babies are aplenty in One Piece. And Tatiana just became my favorite character in this series. Not only because of the trope being so expertly handled here, But it's like, even without that, her backstory is like so fucking sad. But her strength in this battle and using her abilities that had once made her want to die, using those to save someone she now cares for, it's like that's an instant win. That wins me over instantly. Like, that is in every way beautiful perfection. And it's just like, you took this character who, like, I didn't hate or anything, but I didn't really have any strong emotions toward, one way or the other, and you made her my favorite character in one episode. You made me care about her, like, on such a deep level. It's just, it's so fucking well written. To, again, an impressive degree. It's not just like, oh, it's good. No, it's impressively good. Like, comparing to other shows, other movies, anime, cartoons, video games, whatever. It's like impressive comparative to everything else. And yeah, I acknowledge that some of that might be the initial hype talking. Having that initial impression because I just watched it. I acknowledge that. I don't know how I'm going to feel next week when I'm getting into the next episode. But usually, when my feelings are this strong towards something, it doesn't usually change that much. It might like drop a little bit, but not usually like a huge amount in terms of hype and just interest. If it's this extreme, this emotional for me, I usually have a very good feeling that it's going to stay that way, and it's usually proven true. Like, I would say like 90% of the time, at least, if it's this, like, emotionally intense for me. It's just so powerful, and it's the kind of shit I really love to see. It's the kind of shit that just really loves me, or makes me love characters like this. And I think one example I want to give here, because it is my favorite piece of media of all time, let's talk about One Piece and one of the trauma babies in that. Nico Robin, my favorite character. Robin has this knowledge because of how she was raised and the people that raised her and everything. She has this knowledge of things that she shouldn't have knowledge of. She can read poneglyphs. Because of this, the world government wants her dead and put such an insane bounty on her at 8 years old. The highest starting bounty we have seen in the entirety of this series. No one has had a bigger starting bounty than her. So she's given this insane bounty because the world government doesn't care that she was only 8 years old at the time. She can read poneglyphs. They think she deserves to die because of that. All because of what that could reveal. And so she has had to be on the run her entire life, to the point where it's caused her extreme self-hatred. And by the point Eni's Lobby comes in, she wants to die. She believes she deserves to die. And the only thing she wants to do prior to that is just to make sure that the only friend she has ever made in her life can escape safely. She gives herself up, willing and ready to die, as long as her friends are kept safe. It is the deal she makes, and it is extremely sad. And after she ends up getting saved, she starts turning things around with her knowledge, using it for the goal of helping her crew and others in the world. But this really comes to a head in Wano. This girl who has been referred to as a devil, the demon child, since she was 8 years old. A girl who just wanted to find a family who cared for her, and who at Eni's lobby proudly proclaimed after finding that family that she wants to live. She tells Black Maria in the heat of battle that she doesn't care if she becomes a demon, and that she's willing to die for her friends. That she's come this far because of her connections and relationships with the rest of the Straw Hats, and is now using the power that made her want to die at one point in order to save herself, in order to save others, and in order to take down the true evils of the world. It is very comparative to this. Obviously not the exact same situations, obviously very different circumstances that led to everything. But there are absolutely similarities. There are absolutely similarities. And that's also probably part of the reason why Tatiana's story here and everything hurt me. Emotionally wrecked me and made me just fall in love with her character. Because it's reminiscent to a degree of my favorite One Piece character. My favorite character from my favorite piece of media. That's kind of a big deal. And I'm not saying that Tatiana's necessarily on the level of character as Robin for me. But I'm just saying she's a similar type of character. And she's definitely my favorite of this series, so far at least. I just, again, I want to see her protected and kept safe. And I want to see her happy. She has friends now, friends to protect, and friends who will protect her, too. As Fuko proved. She got her to calm down and got her to keep her powers under control. And she saw her for who she is. She didn't take pity on her. She didn't look down on her. And the connection they formed with not being able to touch anyone with their, physical bodies. It's just like, I didn't even think about that until it was pretty much said. Like, it just didn't cross my mind, but it's like, yeah, that is absolutely a thing. There is that very strong connection between the two of them. This is, when you get down to it, a very young girl who went through immense, horrific trauma at 5 years old. Her powers, which she never even asked for, she never wanted, horrifically murdered her parents in front of her on her 5th birthday. She was captured by and sold, almost sold, by the mafia. And the first friend she ever made was this guy who just came in, this kind blind man who brought with him specially made cake. So she would have some sense of normalcy. So she would have some sense of happiness. He brought that in purely for her, to make her feel good. Like, I don't even know much about this dude, but I love him too. It's like, that is one of the most beautifully selfless, just kind things ever. Because it's like, we know, we understand why the Round Table was after her. We understand why they wanted to get to her. And he didn't need to treat her as nice as he did. But he saw this scared, depressed young girl who wanted to die, who basically begged him for death. And he's like, here, I have cake. And it's just like, that is the sweetest fucking thing ever. And I fucking love it. And I want to know more about him. I very much want to know more about him now. And while this episode mostly focused on Tatiana's backstory and character and everything, and we didn't get too much else with the actual battle at hand at the moment, we're going to get that in the next episode, and we're going to kind of get, like, the conclusion of, like, what her character arc has set forth for this battle. And we started to see here, we start to see her, like, unleashing her power and everything. But this is, like, going to really it's really going to get to the good parts in the next episode, I feel. I think that this is going to be amazing, honestly. And it's kind of wild, too. Because it's like, I've constantly said for various things, like when I've dropped shows or whatnot, I'd like say things like, oh, it may get good later, but I don't want to like push myself through the like the muck to get to the good stuff. I don't feel like I should have to do that and stuff. And this series has these huge moments of just insane, beautiful quality that gets really emotionally resonant. But the stuff in between that's not as good is still very fucking good. The lower points of this series have still proven to be A quality. It's just comparative to the big moments. They are weaker. But that's only because like the big moments, the three insanely emotional, massive moments we've had in this so far, are just on such another level that it's just not fair to compare them. It's like triple S tier compared to the A tier that the show is normally at. And it's wild. It's really wild and sad that I just don't hear people talking about this one as much. Like, I've definitely heard people talk about it. I've definitely heard people, like, you know, showcase how much they enjoy it and talk about how much they enjoy it, but it never reaches it never reached the level of hype, of quality, of excitement that a lot of these other shows have. And it's just, I can't understand why. It's like, why is Demon Slayer so much more hyped up and beloved than this? Just because of the gorgeous animation? It's like a show is more than its animation. It's like, this is, like, in story and characters and everything, like, insanely better than Demon Slayer, I feel like, almost could ever hope to be. Demon Slayer is carried by its animation. I stand by that. Because it's definitely not by the characters or story. Generic bullshit, honestly, with that stuff. In my opinion, of course. If you like Demon Slayer for that stuff, that's fine. You're allowed to. Cool. I'm allowed to share my opinion too, though. But yeah, it's like, this is as good as the hype for Demon Slayer makes that seem like it is. Except this is actually that good. If not better than that. Out of like shonen anime and stuff that have come out in recent years, this is probably the best. that I've seen at least. Like, this is that good. It's wild to think about, and I would have not really expected to say that even when I started this, and even enjoying it on the first episode as I did. I would not have expected to be saying quite this much praise for it, but it deserves it. This is just that impressive. Okay, oh god, what is it called? Shit. I was about to make another comparison, but I forgot the name of the series. That's it. I got it. This is the level of quality of Hell's Paradise for me. And if you watch my reactions to that, you guys know I loved Hell's Paradise. Like, that shit was entirely my kind of shit. I really fucking loved Hell's Paradise. And this is on that level for me. In a very different way, of course. It's a very different kind of series. But just in terms of level of quality, it is absolutely on that level for me. Like, this series could be, like, top tier for me. One of my favorites, period, in terms of anime. And I hope it is. I hope that this can continue to, like, hold on to this level of quality. I hope that it can continue to, keep this up the entire time. Because that's like the best case scenario here. So, yeah, this episode just was phenomenal. And I can't wait to see what more they do with Tatiana as this continues. But tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. And as always, no spoilers. For now, though, thanks as always for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.